For more on this, Phar Kim Beng joins us live from Kuala Lumpur. He is the Director of Internationalisation and ASEAN Studies at the International Islamic University of Malaysia. Phar, hello and welcome. So firstly, I'd like to ask you about South Korea. So the US and South Korea have agreed to maintain reciprocal tariffs at 15% and that $350 billion that Trump wanted to be invested by South Korea would be paid in installments. Do you think that President Lee will be pleased with this outcome?
This is one of the signs of American presidency or the Trump administration right now. Basically, you have a president in the White House who can dictate and define whatever terms that he sees most appropriate. Now, within the context of his trip to South Korea, Gyeongju, South Korea, which is where the Asia-Pacific Economic Summit will be held, and that's where he will meet President Xi Jinping and the rest of the leaders from all over Asia-Pacific. We can see that he has been very successful in his trip in Malaysia, where he has had a very good meeting in Kuala Lumpur with Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim and also a collection of leaders from different parts of the world, including surprisingly President Lula. And when he's in South Korea right now, when he feels that things are moving in his direction, basically he can do anything he wants.
And on that, as this meeting between Trump and Xi approaches, which side do you think is in a better position heading into trade talks?
That's an excellent question. I do believe that China is in a stronger position, but on that basis, I have to add a caveat. China doesn't want to play hardball. China has all the ability to take a very hardline position by restricting its rare earth elements, exports to the United States and allies of the United States, but China doesn't want to do that. China has in fact told the United States that it's willing to stall the whole measure by 1 year in order to allow President Donald Trump some concession. And I do personally believe that this 1 year framework, it's very strategic in manner, because 1 year from now, it's also the November congressional midterm election, which can affect the tenure of President Donald Trump. So in other words, President Xi Jinping or China is giving that concession and trying to give some face, so to speak, to President Donald Trump in order to assist him to reciprocate in exchange, in return. So my personal and professional belief is that China and United States would come out from APEC and whatever bilateral meeting that they have with a major and massive trade breakthrough.
Okay, so on that, because Trump sounded upbeat speaking to reporters on Air Force One today about his upcoming meeting with Xi, what do you think it's going to take in this meeting to reset the ties between the two countries?
Well, it's very clear over the last 1 week, President Donald Trump, it's not very familiar with Asia, but as and when he is in this part of the world, he feels that this is one of those regions in the world that he can do so-called many deals. And he's able to do that as he goes from one country to the other, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea. He has been doing nothing but accumulating massive amounts of deals and investments. And that makes him extremely ebullient and happy. Within that context, President Donald Trump is actually looking for an even better and stronger trade deal that can reinforce and strengthen the Chinese and American relationship so that it doesn't become completely zero-sum over the next 3 years, which will be chaos because it can lead to a mutual retaliation of tariff that can induce economic depression. As I speak right now, Amazon, Wall Street is doing very well, but Amazon is shedding jobs. 38,000 people in Amazon will be furloughed or will be asked to leave their jobs. And there are more companies that will be doing that in the United States. But bear in mind, the American stock market is doing well, and so is Nikkei. And most of the stock markets that are actually looking at this trade meeting in Gyeongju, South Korea. They will be expecting a breakthrough.
Phar Kim Beng, Director of Internationalisation and ASEAN Studies at the International Islamic University of Malaysia, joining us from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you so much for your time.